Thanks to all my supporters on Ko-Fi, or Coffee. If you want to support me there as well, please have a look. You can choose the amount you want to give me either one time or monthly. And monthly supporters will be listed in special videos like this here, no matter the amount. Hello there and welcome back to my channel and this new video. And honestly, this video took more turns than most racing tracks do, because honestly this started as a simple video on the chronology of Trickster changes and what's actually happening, and now it's this. My probably last video on Trickster and Dead by Daylight for a while. So how did we get here? In the beginning I wanted to make a new video on my series of what happened to Trickster, what's going on, what's actually posted at the moment. So like my last few videos on Trickster, namely 6 month and 11 month of Reboot Trickster, a chronology of what's actually happening online, what are the statements from developers, what are the statements from other players, what's actually going on Trickster in general. As soon as I started asking other Trickster mains this time about their opinions to share and how other things are happening at the moment, this video really fast took a turn that I didn't expect it to do, so here we are. First of all, when I started looking into informations about what's actually happening about Trickster, I found two things. First of all, the developer insight and design preview for the changes on Trickster that was posted like October 2024. Obviously, that was a major point in this time ever since the last video. And the second one was the update on that in March 2025. And the October 2024 one was already like a little bit of a problem, because technically speaking they said they do a partial rollback to the old version, which was terrible because they apparently didn't even know their own numbers on Trickster completely themselves, which is kinda embarrassing, not gonna lie. At the same time, of course, they have a lot of numbers to keep in mind, but still, if you provide a public post like this, you should check the numbers. You should make sure that you're actually posting the right stuff. And then in March they said, yeah, we don't do anything at the moment, but we will be back in the future, guaranteed for sure, 100%. No communication ever since again. So now I was working in the video game industry for 6 years, almost 5.5. Well, we rounded up for 6 years now. And I know that there are things happening in the background that you can't see as a normal consumer, customer, whatever. And that's perfectly fine, because of course you can't share every step of the process, because that would be update after update after update every single day. That would be too much, obviously. Duh. But basically, ever since October 2024, we are here with nothing. We have no idea what they actually planned. We have no idea what they're actually doing. And yet the update in March saying we don't do that rollback was an update, but it's just like, yeah, we keep the status quo. That's not really a change. That's to be expected until there's a further announcement. So yeah. To go into detail why this is a bad idea about rolling back partially or rolling back in general, completely as it is, I'll come to in a second. But first I want to talk about something else that happened in these videos of mine that I'm, in hindsight, not really proud about, and that is the use of the hashtag #RebootTrickster. Back in the day, this was kicked off like, I don't even know who started it. I think it was Revium. I might be wrong. I don't want to blame him or anybody or anything on this one, because I still thought until a few weeks ago that this was a good hashtag to use, because the idea was to make Trickster fun again, great again, playable again in general. I used that hashtag as well, and I was really happy about it, because obviously it's like we want to have Trickster to be fun again. Apparently that's not how this hashtag was received by many people. One of the Trickster mains I talked about too, I tried to reduce the name dropping here too much, so I don't hate anybody, but I had a talk with Blank about this. Blank informed me that maybe people saw this more as a we want to 100% roll back Trickster to what he was before, which is not the case. We just want to have a playable and fun version that's challenging and not like bottom floor ceiling. So yeah, the hashtag #RebootTrickster was maybe not the best in hindsight. Hindsight is the strongest superpower, so back in the day when it was announced and used, I thought it would be good and it would be ideal. Nowadays I think different about it, but yeah, that clarification is also out of the way. Talking about the Trickster rollback and changes now in detail would take too long, but the gist of it is too many things around DbD have changed ever since the Trickster nerf was rolled out. So basically it's not possible to go back to the old version and still be as successful as we were back in the day on that version. For two reasons, but we come to that in a bit. Zozo made a detailed video about that, so watch out for the link in the description on their channel and their videos, because I will link them all in the description. Also, I will mention a few more videos in this one, so please have a look at these as well. But please after this one, so watch this one first. If you need context, then press pause and watch the Zozo videos now, and then come back here, please. But the gist of it is that in general, Trickster has a lot of issues at the moment. That goes from bugs, that goes to gameplay issues, that M1ing is a lot more efficient than throwing knives, because lethality is basically a joke at this moment on his power, and many other things that are not exactly directly affecting Trickster, but passively somehow. And we come to that in a second. That's the second part of this video. So when I talk to other Trickster mains about their opinions, because that's all that happened in that time, so a developer insight, design preview, an update that it's not happening, and some videos Zozo made. Of course, there are many other smaller videos, but the most impactful things are these. But that's it on the bigger scale. Now I started to do research for this video, when you see this probably already 8 weeks ago, because holy shit, that video took long, and that's also a reason why so little videos are on my channel at the moment released, because this video cost me a lot of nights. I was talking to other Trickster mains, and I was surprised, because that's also the reason why I won't name drop this time, because most of them didn't want to talk about it anymore. Many of them simply surrendered to the fact that behavior doesn't care. And that might be true, I don't know, because as mentioned, there could be stuff going on in the background. I know that from my experience in the industry, but at the same time I can't promise it. I don't know it for a fact. There could be something going on, but there could also be literally nothing going on. So some of them still do have hope, but still don't want to talk for different reasons, like they don't want to be pulled too far into that spotlight right now, because they have other things going on, because they moved on from playing Trickster and played other killers. Many of them also switched to play Survivor more, and some of them even, like me, switched to other games. Some might be playing Marvel Rivals, some Overwatch, some like me Hunt Showdown, or Valorant. I've seen many other games played by former Trickster mains simply because the game is terrible to Trickster at the moment. One of them even provided me with a full rework, which I was happy to show you, or rework idea that I was happy to show you, but as I don't want to name drop, I don't want to show this now, and it's really sad. I'm sorry for your effort. I wasted a lot of your time there. I didn't know this video would turn out like this at the time. I don't want to name drop anybody and pull them in here, because this video will now turn really quickly into my consequences from this. And I don't want anybody else tied into my conclusions out of this, because what's following now is really harsh. So while I was digging into the issues that Trickster has at the moment, I was also looking for other killer issues, obviously. Trickster couldn't be the only one affected by the changes on maps and stuff. And now let me explain what the problem there is. DbD over the last few months silently added a lot of filler tiles, filler palettes and fluff to the maps. Fluff means technically visual stuff that wasn't there before, but that's also partially affecting the gameplay. Like small flowers on the loops and Toba that were not there before, but they are solid, so you have to loop a little bit further. It doesn't make much difference in the small scale, but if you look at the whole maps and the whole surroundings and everything that happened on all maps together, that's a lot of stuff that's nowhere to be mentioned in patch notes. If you go back now and look at a video from Toba Landing shortly after it was released, and the video from Toba Landing that is recorded nowadays, even without the birthday event, the map is a lot more cluttered, a lot more filler places, a lot more filler tiles, more pallets in there, and that goes on every map. If you compare maps to like what they were 2 years ago, they are completely different maps. Look at Rotten Fields. Rotten Fields was a shack in the middle, cornfields around it, and some tiles outside. Maybe some jungle gyms, maybe some fillers, maybe some rubble. But now there is stuff everywhere. There are stones in the field, there are even smaller other objects in the field that are like stopping the killer from being too oppressive. The line of sight can be blocked a lot more easily. And even objects or throwables can be dodged a lot more easily around these days. And on paper, that's a good change. Sadly, around that time as well, it started that they started closing small holes and gaps where ranged killers could shoot through or over invisible walls as well. Like you could throw over the air conditioner machines on RPD, which you can't do anymore. Many gaps of Coldwind Farm are closed these days. In the past, you could shoot through hay balls gaps, and on Ormond you could shoot below the snow plow or the piston machine, whatever that's called is. And even on Garden of Joy you can't shoot through the railing anymore ever since I guess page 8.1. It's not possible as Trickster, it's not possible as Slinger, and it was definitely in the past. On other railings, on other maps like Thompson House, you can still shoot through railings, but on Garden of Joy you can't. So not only did they close gaps, but they also did it inconsistent. For example, the Dead Dog Saloon Shack, you can't shoot through the small holes partially anymore, but others you can. That's not adding skill ceiling because you remember which hole you can shoot through and which you can't because it's random. Tober Landing, there is a window that is closed by purple gloop, and there are 6 or 7 holes in there. 2 of them you can shoot through, the others you can't. It's simply hilarious. There is no pattern, no recognition, no anything, it's just random. And that is a lot different compared to what DbD was used to in the past. And because of all that clutter and because of all that extra stuff, many weaker killers are struggling a lot more these days. But that's not the end of it, that's just the start. That's what's somehow partially passively affecting Trickster, Slinger, also Huntress and Artist partially. Artist obviously can shoot through everything nonetheless because the birds go through walls, ghosting, like many ranged killer projectiles are somehow affected by this. And as a ranged killer main, I feel completely scammed by that, obviously. And behavior, even if it's addressed in the forums, is like, yeah, we can't do anything without proof. Yeah, there is proof. There are tons of clips reporting this stuff. That's not all. Because as soon as I started looking into that, I noticed that there are tons of changes that are passively nerfing killers in the past few months and years. So here is a long but not exhaustive list of changes that were made that didn't make any sense and that make the killer's life a lot more difficult recently. Number 1. General buffs to the survivors. I'm not talking about specific perk buffs now. So some buffs might be justified, some won't. We will talk about buffs in a second to certain perks, but let's start here on the general buffs. First of all, the survivor HUD changes. The new HUD for survivors is amazing. That's great. I honestly love that change, even as a killer main. Because when I play Survivor, I mostly play solo or maybe with one friend, and then you have 2 randoms and you at least know what they're doing. This is huge. And they even improved this over time. From sitting at a totem, you don't know if they're cleansing or blessing. Now you have a different one for blessing and one for cleansing. Amazing. Love it. However, this of course improves communication, which makes it more difficult to play against randoms as well if they pay attention to the HUD, which not everybody does. But on high MMR, if they're playing solo, which is rare because mostly they're playing Swifts, but still it gives them a benefit. The Sabotage got buffed a lot. They changed how Sabotage worked, they changed the toolboxes and the add-ons around for that. It basically was a buff, let's be honest. They implemented anti-3-gen mechanics because of a 3-gen strat that was very dominant in a time where Skull Merchant, Singularity and Knight were released. And I get that, but that 8-kick mechanic stands even though the survivors 3-gen themselves, even though the killer is not protecting these gens, and it's affecting every gen. So after 8 kicks, it's over. And behavior themselves said if you play normal or in a normal way, you won't get to these 8 kicks at all. However, if you play Pain Res and Surge or Jolt, whatever you want to call it, you get there pretty fast, especially when you play somebody like Slinger, where you can actually try to pull them in an area to actually damage gens, which is your intention usually anyway. And I got to these 8 kicks very often on Slinger. And it's not really an overstatement to say that certain perks bring you to that limit really fast. Next was the anti-phase camp mechanic. The anti-phase camp mechanic, of course, was necessary because, yeah, Basement Bubba is notorious for that, Basement Trapper as well. And I think that the change in itself was good. But there's a problem. You notice something. There are things that are buffing certain aspects of Survivor, but buffing these things on Survivor side means you take away something from Killer side. On the Survivor HUD changes, it's intel that you as a killer maybe have to work for, because you need to track where every survivor is. And usually that's pretty simple and possible, but not always that easy. And sabotaging is something that you need to pay attention to, because of course saboteur you can't see, sabotage toolboxes you maybe detect, because as soon as you pick up they go to sabotage the nearest hook. Obviously the 8 kick chance, you take away the 3 chance strategy from killers. And that's on paper not bad, because yeah, of course you have killers like Skull Merchant or Knight or Singularity that on release were really strong on 3 channing. I get that. That's perfectly sound argument. However, if the survivors are starting in one corner of the map, doing these chants, and then gradually pushing over to the other side and doing all their chants on the way, effectively 3 channing themselves, which is happening a lot to me in my games, and I'm not on the highest MMR, so probably mid-tier-ish somewhere. Maybe lower end of mid-tier probably even nowadays, because honestly I don't play that much anymore. But even then, when they are quote-unquote stupid enough to punish themselves for their own behavior and their own actions, even then I as the killer get punished because I can't keep this chance safe. Anti-face cam mechanic sounds good until you have bullying squads or certain individuals that are simply assholes to their teammates, even blocking their own team. And then you as innocent survivor basically get punished for it, because even if the killer tries to make sure that people are left out, yeah, it's a pretty weak argument, let's be honest, but still, hear me out. Even if you try to get this asshole out and let everybody else survive, you can't do that anymore, because either you stand close to protect the hook, but then there's a chance that the unhook mechanic will grasp, or another survivor is going there to unhook them anyway as soon as you are gone. And then you have the same problem again, that you have an asshole that you technically should be able to tunnel out, but you can't anymore, because certain perks and certain mechanics are falling into effect there. What was happening on the survivor side therefore, because all of these sound like pretty strong buffs on survivor side? Yeah, well, we got medkits nerfed 2 years ago. Coming back to that now. Medkits have been nerfed 2 years ago because behavior said it's too strong, and healings within 2 to 3 seconds within cycle of healing and stuff was too strong. Okay, what happened ever since? Oh wait, we are back at critical mass. Healings are as fast as 3 to 4 seconds if you combine 1 or 2 perks. So we are back at ground zero. And it's even worse now, because behavior nerfed the statuses of hemorrhage and mangle to be time limited. So no matter if it's an add-on or a perk, these things have now timers. You can't be affected eternally for hemorrhage and mangled anymore. The longest is 90 seconds, I guess, which, let's be honest, is not too long. Even leverage doesn't last that long, like 30 seconds or so. And leverage is a full perk that's only dedicated for that. Survivors, on the other hand, got buffs on empathic connection, twice actually. That's now 35% healing speed. Botany knowledge got recently buffed. They took the negative effect of medkits simply out of it, so even if you bring a medkit you can now use it normally. Well, you don't get the buff of botany on medkit heals, but you won't need it. Resurgence got buffed from 50% to 70% healing, which is a lot. Autodeduct got a huge buff, and then we implemented do no harm. Pick any 2 of those and you basically double your healing speed. And we're not talking about we're gonna live forever or we'll make it yet. That's crazy. That's the fastest heal recorded on the current live version, 900. On the time when I'm recording this is 3 seconds. We are back where we were 2 years again. And that's simply not fun. In addition to that, we also got a lot of buffs on gen repair perks. And we also got a lot of new gen repair perks. So gen repairs are also faster than ever. So what do we do to counter this? Of course, we prolonged hook states for 10 seconds, because then survivors definitely have 10 extra seconds to finish the gen that they were working on before unhooking, and not having to leave mid-work. I'm not sure if this was intended or if this was an oversight or if there are two balancing teams that are just working against each other and be like, okay, who can implement the most stupid buffs? But at this point, I honestly doubt somebody is coordinating these. So combining all that stuff together so far, I'm not done yet, but combining all that stuff together so far takes out a lot of the killer playbook. Because anti-mechanics are implemented. That's anti-face camp, anti-tunnel. Shoulder the burden is a huge part of that. It's rarely seen, but when it's used, it's fucking annoying. Gens are going faster, so you need to basically get somehow control over the game, and the fastest way to do this is tunnel one person out or slug people on the ground. Because the time you need to pick up somebody and hook them is most of the time not worth the time wasted, except it's a painless hook. And there's only 4 of them now. So after the second down, it's easier or better for you to keep these people on the ground, because you simply can't deal with that time loss because you need to go for the next one, because otherwise they pop gens. And now I'm really glad that they cancelled this, but the current version of the Chaos Shuffle that's not put out now because they were suddenly aware of the huge wave of critique that was coming in there that stopped them from doing this, but the idea was to have base kit Unbreakable and base kit Tenacity. Many people assumed, and I honestly do that as well, that that was their idea of anti-slugging. So we have now a base kit Borrowed Time, we would have had base kit Unbreakable, and we would have had base kit Tenacity. And I'm honestly waiting to see more perks implemented into killers and survivors alike. I'm really looking forward to base kit Corrupted Intervention, and I'm really looking forward to base kit No Way Out. And also base kit Know It, because of course why not? You'll notice how stupid this is. But for survivors it's perfectly fine. The next part that we have is killer queues. Killer queues are horrible at the moment. I play balloons on my DbD streams by now because sometimes I wait up to 20 minutes for a game. In the evening, in the main playtime of most people. Between 6 PM and 10 PM local time. 20 minutes for a game as killer, just to be blown away because gens are done in 5 minutes and then you are getting teabagged at the exit gate and called a noob killer. Yeah, great fun, great joy. My DbD streams are basically balloons with a little bit of DbD in between. And that's not the point of creating content like this. And I'm not enjoying Survivor as much as I do enjoy Killer, so why should I play Survivor instead? Also, the consistent bonus on Survivor's side, payouts on blood points, makes it literally useless to play Killer at this point. Because you have waiting times and you don't get paid out blood points. Because if I play a normal Killer game during the anniversary event now, I usually get around 100k blood points out of this. And I waited 20 minutes for that game. Or let's say 10, because average, you know? So I waited 10 minutes and played another 10 minutes and then I got 100k blood points. If I play Survivor, I find the game immediately and I get up to 500 blood points out of the game. 500,000 blood points out of one game. Depending on how many cakes are thrown and how much I get to be done in the game. But there's a huge difference and a huge discrepancy because honestly, this can't be normal. If you're getting punished for playing your favorite role, that's not good. And then there was that issue of people criticizing behavior for changing their color of the items and add-ons. And that's a mysterium to me because behavior created this system 9 years ago. This game is going on for 9 years. And they established it as a standard for their own game. People got used to it. And now they changed it to be industry standard. You created your own industry standard just to throw it away? What's the logic behind this? Also think about all the guides and problems that occurred because of that. But especially if you look at older guides and tutorials, that's really confusing now for newer players. Even more confusing than leaving the old colors, because let's be honest, the new colors are not good. Because not just did they confuse new players now because the old guides are all in the old colors, But at the same time, if you are slightly colorblind, that's a terrible mix. The purple, green and blue add-ons, if you have a slight issue on seeing red or blue, you're completely doomed. It's one mesh, one color. I got that confirmed by a friend that is actually partially colorblind. This is stupid. This is not a good design choice. The old ones were a lot better and more distinctive. So they made a working system worse to fix something that was not even need to be fixed. You know, never touch a running system. And then there is the whole thing about ongoing bugs and issues. And some of them being in the game for years. And some of them are not being even specific to a certain time or to a certain killer, but many of them are. And then there are bugs or issues that are affecting a certain map. Like, I played now twice on RPD, I don't know if I have video footage of that, but I played twice on RPD where hooks spawned in a way that I couldn't hook a survivor there because they were pointing towards the wall. That's happening especially on the east wing towards the helipad on the upper floor in the small corridor. I saw twice now a hook spawn towards the wall, so I couldn't hook a survivor there. And the next hook would be downstairs to next to the garden or in the main hall. Or maybe on the helipad if I'm lucky. But carrying a survivor to that hook just to realize, oh, it's looking against the wall, and then having to go to another hook, which is not possible because of the wiggling process, it's simply not fun. And then there are so many issues that are still occurring in the game that are not fixed ever since. And behavior promised this game to be very improved and basically almost bug-free for the release of FNAF. And here we are and it's worse than ever. You have still the animation bugs on Trickster, you have still so many bugs on nights, so many nights on bugs, yeah, exactly. So many bugs on night that it's a joke. Killers being passively nerfed, causing more issues. I will forget plenty of things here. There is not even a bug on Slinger that I didn't know until a few days ago, that as a survivor you can't see that you are aiming as the Slinger. So you don't know if you need to pre-aim your shot or not, because you don't know if the survivor will dodge or not, because they sometimes just don't see that you are aiming. I was really wondering about why some survivors didn't dodge, and I shot my spear basically next to them, until I learned that a few days ago in a video that you simply can't see that sometimes as a survivor, and the shot comes basically out of nothing and Slinger still has his rifle down. That's just not okay. There are so many game-breaking bugs that are destroying the fun for both sides. And I'm not even talking about the other controversial buffing and changing philosophies. Because in the current PTB, that's not on the live servers yet, so I don't know if this change will actually go live as it is. But on the current PTB 910, they buffed Pig, and it's a pure number buff again. The problem is, it doesn't affect the actual Pig gameplay that much. Because if you run 6.9 meters per second or 7.1 meters per second on that dash, doesn't matter if the survivor is bursting away with sprint burst on 8 meters per second. You might lose a little less distance, and you might be lucky if the survivor is a little bit late on his interactions and a little bit late on running away. But overall, you have no chance of catching them anyway. That buff does nothing to you on the overall picture. I don't know exactly what's going on at behavior, but there are so many design and balance changes that don't make sense. And this game makes me so salty over the past few months that I decided to quit DbD for now. I'm honestly not sure if this will be a break or a complete cut. And of course, this is not everything that plays into this. There are many more things that I don't implement in this video, because otherwise it will be a 6-hour video. Or maybe even longer, I don't know. But there are so many issues going on at the moment that I simply can't enjoy this game anymore. And I'm not even talking about the community yet. Teabagging at the exit gates, calling you a bad killer even though you just got a 4K. Of course you don't give that much shit about that. But the community is as salty as never before, and I don't want to be in that environment. I'd rather go hunting in the bayou, or building my empire in Anno, or playing through a nice story game, or maybe even go back to Valorant or play Teamfight Tactics again, or maybe even try Hearthstone again, I don't know. My conclusion after all these things is that I will stop playing DbD for now. If it is a break or if it is a complete cut with the game, I don't know yet. I'm really happy for DbD to welcome the survivors of The Walking Dead. I was really looking forward to that, but I won't play for a while because I just can't cope on that. There's just not enough copium. And seeing how many other content creators of DbD are slowly switching back to other games or taking a break as well, or playing just simply less, just confirms what I'm thinking about. That the game is not in a good shape, that the game is not really good in its current state, and that the game is simply not okay, especially as a killer main. And of course, if you're a survivor main, you might disagree with that. But I wanna quote something from a video that I watched a few days ago. I'll link it in the description, but here's a list of all the meta perks that were changed in the last 2 years. Barbecue is missing on that one on the killer side, but still. And this is how they are nerfed, and this is the ones that are buffed. I don't know about you, but this is a clear change towards survivors on my end. I don't know. And this is just the meta perks. We're not talking about the trash perks. So yeah, that being said, my next few videos for the foreseeable future won't be Dead by Daylight. If you're here only for Dead by Daylight, I understand that you might be not interested in watching my videos, but I still have other good content coming up with Hunt Showdown and with other story games that I play. At the moment we are playing Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and we also played Darksiders 2 in a marathon recently. And there are many other things going on, but it won't be Dead by Daylight for a while. Because, as I mentioned now several times, I just can't cope on that anymore. And I don't know how other people can. If you want to watch more Dead by Daylight content, especially on Trickster, I highly recommend Revium. He still plays a lot of Trickster. Not as much as he did though. I also recommend obviously Odstava, because everybody knows Odstava, I guess. Alright, that video is now recorded for the 5th or 6th time. And this time it's the final version, because this time there won't be anything added anymore, I hope. Maybe see you in the Bayou, or maybe in like half a year or so, I don't know, in the fog again. Goodbye. Did you really think it was over? Because I honestly did this time, but hey, here I am. Once more. What a joy. So, it was not enough to justify to re-record a whole video, but still I wanted to bring up 2 more things, because in the time between I was recording the old stuff that you just watched and the new stuff now here, there has been a Reddit AMA posted by the devs of Dead by Daylight, and they went over 2 things that I want to address real quick, because I think this is important. And let me be honest with you, I am rather surprised about this. First of all, I didn't talk about something on the current PTB that I actually dislike, and that was the fog vials, or the smoke bombs basically. Smoke crystals as they were called in the Haunted by Daylight event. And the reason why I dislike them is because the smoke is a really strong tool for survivors. Especially on stealth killers that need to chase, or on ranged killers that need to see their targets, or also even on dash killers, because you just don't see where you're dashing. So this is a really strong counter against these killers. And on the PTB, the smoke bombs were unlimited. So you had like a use, and then you had a cooldown of 60 to 70 seconds depending on what version and what add-ons you brought, and then you could use them again. I was 100% convinced that they would change this to either one-time use or maybe 3-time use or whatever. Just give it limited charges instead of cooldown. However, in the AMA, the devs confirmed that they will keep the unlimited use ongoing, because it's quote-unquote a unique change or unique twist to the stuff that's happening there. You have a screenshot here on the video, you can see this all. They admitted they decreased the opacity from the visceral add-ons, so the iridescent ones, and added some downsides to it with the uptime and maximum size, I guess. Yeah, sure. And they're also saying there will be additional changes when they hit the live servers, but I don't think this is good at all. Shoutouts to Sassy for asking the question. The second part is coming from Particular Panda, and he's asking about the Trickster timeline. And the devs said that they have something really huge going on. It will be next level. The whole kit will be put onto the next level. You can expect to hear more in early 2026. And in a different post, I couldn't find the second one now, even with the search function, but I'm pretty sure they posted somewhere March 2026. November 2023 to early 2026. Ever since we are stuck on this weird version of Trickster. I simply don't like that. And while I have hopes again that they will do actually good rework on Trickster, this sentence in this AMA doesn't change anything, because we have nothing to grasp, we have no information yet again. It's just like, yeah, we didn't lose it, we are still working on it, it's not out of our minds, at least that's something. But it's still like, yeah, we keep the status quo until we have further announcements. And the status quo is boring. And yeah, that's basically it. So I just wanted to add these two things because I think that's really important, because I left out a lot of smaller things and a lot of medium-sized things as well in this video, and I know many people will probably be hating me for this, or disliking me at least, and I can completely understand that. And I also want to fix something that I said in the end of the first part. In the end of the first part, I said that I think DbD is in a bad shape or state. I want to, well, clarify that a bit, because I don't think DbD overall is in a bad shape. I just think that some balancing and design changes are questionable, and that I personally don't have fun with it anymore. And for me personally, it's not the game that I want to play anymore, at least not at the moment. Maybe it is in a few months again, I have no idea. We will have a look at that when it's that far and when we are at that point. But at the moment I just can't play DbD and have fun, because there are too many things that are bothering me, there are too many things that are concerning me. And as I mentioned, I left out a lot of small things like toxic community. Everybody knows about that one at this point, I guess. So that's it with the update. Thank you very much for watching to the very end. Please, if you liked it, please leave a dislike if you disliked it. And also, please leave a comment if you disagree with me on certain points. But please be reasonable and somewhat mannered. Simply insulting won't take you that far. I also hopefully didn't insult anybody in this video too much. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day, and maybe see you next time in the Bayou. Have a good day.